Welcome everyone. What I'd like to start with is just a quick slide showing what Sage Paperless is in its entirety. We are a software that can really do a lot of things. Most people on the Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 Construction Real Estate know us as an AP system to capture AP invoices and route them up for approval. But we are much, much more than that. And as Corey has mentioned also, recently, not just on-premise, but also in the cloud, available for access for a multitude of different things. So as a starting point, what I'd like to show you is kind of what that layout looks like. So what we all start with on this is, as everyone knows, AP Flow, or as most people know, AP Flow. This is our bridge between the Sage Paperless Construction and the Sage 100 or 300 accounts payable, allowing you to take all of your invoices from the field, from an email, from somebody's truck where you want to take a picture of it and bring it in, all invoices into a centralized location. We can code them, route them around for approval, track who we are waiting on for those, and all the other bits and pieces to it. And at the end of the day, push that right back into your Sage accounting, so you'll have your invoices ready to go and you can make your payments. And we've got tools on the payment side as well. So the AP Flow is one of the top things people are looking at on our software. But we also can capture any documentation regardless of the module of origin. On the AP side, we do have purchase orders, subcontracts, certificates of insurance, and more on that as well. But think of your human resources, your project management, property management, service. I can keep going on. Custom departments that have nothing to do with your Sage accounting. We can work with those too. You can save in any documentation and get rid of your filing cabinets once and for all. This can digitize those documents into a single place with multitudes of ways of searching for them. Because before, in a previous environment, maybe it's a filing cabinet, maybe it's a folder structure on your computer where you have a area that says this is my vendor information. And then you go in there and there's invoices. And then it's invoices is the invoices, but you can only get to there by going into the vendor folder and then finding them within there. With our system, you can now say this invoice or this document is coded to a job, a vendor, a customer, a date, a dollar amount, a recipient, a custom field, and any one of those values can be searched or a combination of them to find exactly what you need when you need it, and you can route them around for approval. You can route AP invoices for approval, purchase orders, subcontracts, human resources documentations, things out to your project manager, you name it, you can route it for approval with our doc route, which allows for the tracking of all the information with all the audit data and everything in between. And all of this is directly connected back to Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 Construction Real Estate, whichever back office software you're using today. So what we call the on-premise group, all of this is designed to work directly with your server and store everything and have it route around for approval in a centralized location. But we also have a new group, our cloud services. And our cloud services have started out with the Sage Paperless Construction's eCapture. This is a web application that allows you on an Android or an Apple device to take a picture of your credit card receipts, take a picture of a receiving ticket or an AP invoice or even job photos from wherever you might be, and even online or offline. It is an app and allows you to take those pictures even if you're in a place with no internet connection. And as you go through, you capture them all. It syncs back in with Sage Paperless Construction in the back office, and now you've got a place to capture those documents and store them without having to run around and save credit card receipts, keep them in your wallet, and scan them in later and turn them into your boss. You can now do that directly as soon as you're done with that purchase at Home Depot or wherever you happen to be. On top of that, we also have the paperless e-forms that is being released this week, and that is a place to create any type of document you might want and capture them from anywhere you might be. That's the generic answer to answer pretty much anything, but what it really is a way to say, I have a certain paper document today that I have my people filling out all the time. That paper document could be a daily field report, a safety violation form. It could be a new hire packet. It could be a vacation request form. The list goes on and on. Whatever that form is, we can digitize it, and on a tablet, or you can pull up, fill in all the blanks. It's this, daily field report. I'm pulling up my job list out of Sage, and I pick from my job list, I can pick the cost code that this is part of, or the spec section, the date, capture GPS coordinates, and when I save that document then saves within Paperless and is available for everyone to have access to. Well, at least everyone who has access security-wise, because we are at the heart a true document management system, and we take security very seriously in terms of allowing people to see only what they should when you set them up. And also being released this week is our ePortal. The ePortal is a website that you can access from any device. As long as you have an internet connection, you can pull up and see your AP invoices that have been routed to you for approval and view all the information and do your approval from wherever. Again, you could be doing this from a job trailer, from home, or even from the office, and from a smartphone to a tablet to a laptop to whatever. ePortal now allows you to do those remote approvals of invoices from anywhere. So that's the lay of the land of what we've got with the Sage Paperless Construction, everything from AP invoices to your non-AP invoices to project management properties and so on. And now with our cloud components, everything is tied together to give you a single place to store all of your documentation and track it all and capture it, set for approval. And again, at the end of the day, push right back into your Sage 100 contract or Sage 300, any data that you want to capture for invoices and for retrieving the documents later on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual software itself. As a starting point, let's look at the Paperless itself. Now, this is my dashboard that I've created on my main screen here. If you've never seen it before, this is an optional screen that some of your people might be using that want to see things like, how many jobs are sitting out there, what jobs are sitting out there for approval, how many dollar amounts, what aging do we have going on with invoices. If you have project managers or people that just don't care about this, turn it off, put your company logo in the background, and that's all they need to worry about. But this as a starting point is where I can log in and start seeing everything I need to in the system. For starters, I'm going to want to start capturing documents and bring them in. Now, we capture documents in a variety of different ways. As I pointed out earlier, there are some cloud components, and we'll talk about those a little bit later on this presentation. So we can capture them through the cloud, through some of our apps, but we can also grab stuff right out of email and drag them in and save them into the system. You can save documents from a folder that you have with PDFs or TIFFs or JPEGs or whatever they might be to Excel spreadsheets. You can also just scan directly in as well. So whatever way you're getting your documents in, we'll typically get them in, put them into a queue, and a queue is a digital version of the filing box that you've got on each person's desk in the office. I could say, here are all my stuff. I got a couple invoices on here. I have a subcontract. I've got a purchase order. The documents that I've scanned in and are ready to be coded into our system. As a purchase order, I'm going to want to tell it what exactly this is. If I'm coding this out, maybe this is a Sage 100 contractor purchase order, which it actually is in this case, I can code it and say this is PO number 455. And as I code that out, it's going to read my Sage 100 or 300 database and code out 455. With that single coding, it's going to grab the job, the name, the description, the PO date, the vendor number. I can have it grab the amounts, cost codes, GL codings, whatever you want it. It's actually customizable in a multitude of different ways. When I save a document, I'm saving it not just as a purchase order for vendor Watson Carpet Works. I'm saving this as a purchase order for that, plus the date and the job and anything else I want to capture. We've got a whole list of things we can add on to this as well. And again, we also want to customize how it looks back into Sage to read the information and put it on there, because all of this stuff is important later when you want to find it. I don't want to just find it by vendor. I want to find it by a multitude of ways. And with our link backs in, you can read your data and get it coded as quickly as possible. Now, this is a purchase order. As an example, though, we can really do anything. Out of the box, we've got a ton of documentation that you can turn on day one, things like transmittals for project management, W-2s and W-4s for human resources, I-9 forms in the same category. You know, you can also do material orders, work order stuff, owner contracts, project management documentation. Whatever you want to store, you can, and you can create your own document types, create your own values within it, how they look back into Sage, or just how they look back into a database you create separate. We can work through it all. And all of this becomes searchable later when I want to find it in either our search utilities here in Paperless, you know, coming over here and saying, find me all my documentation, and I can sort by the date it was indexed, or I can pull it up by the type of document it is. Here's a receiving ticket that I took earlier, which you're going to probably note probably looks like a keyboard if I remember correctly when I took that picture. Oh, it's just a blank envelope. But you can capture documentation. I did this with my smartphone earlier. Through here, I can pull up how they were and see the information. And by the way, this one, if you're curious how I got a picture of a envelope through my smartphone into the system, this was using that eCapture app. I took a picture of it. I coded this through the app itself, and it saves it directly into Paperless here.
Hey, Vincent, can you jump back to your, okay, yep, on this screen here, is there a way to sort by job number?
So this portion of the screen does not sort by job number unless you have a particular rule set up for description. But if you want to look for a specific job in the system, it's really as simple as creating your own custom searches. We have a browser view here, and you can say, I'm a project manager, and I've got 3 jobs that I care about. In fact, I'll just say 2 jobs for speed reasons here. I want to, let's pull up my JC job real quick here. Job number, let's say Clackamas Office Park here. As a project manager, I want to be able to see my 2 jobs that I work on a lot, and I just literally click on a save search for job number 03001. And over here, I'll see every document for that job. And then I flip over to job number 03002, and this shows me every document for that job. So although it doesn't sort by job, you can easily create your own folder structure to quickly access anything job related or AP related, AP checks, vendor number related. You can control exactly how you want to search for and find this stuff. And you can even start paring it down. If I'm on job number and I want to say everything that is a credit card receipt for that job or an AP invoice, I can create subcategories to find out that stuff. And because we do save every document under multitudes of values, job number 0301 to AP invoice will show the same thing if I started out with all AP invoices and then pare it down by job. You can find the documents the way you want to as an individual user and not have to worry about the way that somebody else decided they wanted to do it 5 years ago. And we also have direct lookups into Sage 100 Contractor and 300 as well. Right there from the paperclip icons, from the attachment buttons within there, you can say, show me related documents to whatever screen I'm on and record I'm on. If I'm in 100 Contractor and I'm on a purchase order, and I say, you know, go to the paperclip icon and show me documents in Paperless, it will then launch and show me the purchase orders, the receiving tickets, and the invoices associated. Or if I go to the invoice and do the same thing, I'll see the invoice and the purchase orders and the receiving ticket. They might be different. Does a purchase order have multiple invoices? The invoice probably doesn't. You can go from Sage 300 on an inquiry screen and do the same lookups there as well. So finding documentation is as simple as pulling it right out of Sage when you're already looking at something to coming in and finding exactly what you need out of Sage Paperless as well. And coming down the line in a month or two, we'll also be releasing ways to access those via the cloud too. Now, as I mentioned also, a big key piece people are looking at is AP invoice routing and approval. And we still got you covered there, as we always have. And that's going to let you store in all your AP invoices, code them out through the system. You know, this is an AP vendor, pull out my Adams Electric bill here, code out the invoice. Note we check for duplicate invoices not just in what's been thrown through Paperless, but also back historically in your Sage database. Because a lot of people ask me, if I switch over to this next month and I had a duplicate that just happened to have been created before I switched over, is this going to find it? And the answer is yes, we'll find it immediately. In fact, one of the other key pieces to this is you no longer have to worry about archiving your data in Sage and losing the attachments. Because when you take a document out of Sage and you had stuff attached in the paperclip icon, so now it's gone. But we can now store them in Paperless, and even if you archive stuff, old invoices that you're not touching anymore, we're going to be able to keep access to those, and you never lose a thing anymore. Going back to my invoice, though, I'll fill in the different key pieces of information here, the dollar totals. I'm fudging it if anyone notices. I'm just trying to make it for speed reasons. And I have my access to my expenses, equipment, commitments, jobs, POs and subcontract commitments as well. We directly connect back in with Sage, so all of that stuff I just mentioned can easily be found by just hitting a drop-down list here and pulls up my job list right out of the data set. And these are exact pull-ups of that second. So if I asked Corey to create job 03008 5 minutes ago and he yelled at me, hey, it's ready to go, I hit the drop-down and boom, there it is. I access that job, and as a processor, first off, I'm coming to here, that job has no cost code set up on it. So I could say, I don't know the cost codes, and in fact, I'll put a note on here that says, please add cost codes later. And my project managers can add those cost codes potentially. Or if I am grabbing a job that does have cost codes on it, and I find that I don't know the right one, I can leave it blank. Or I could select the one I think it is, and the category I think it is, and verify my budget. And if I am going over budget, maybe I'll put a note to say, please either make a change order or verify that this is the right cost code. As somebody entering an invoice, I now have the information right there at my fingertips to make sure everything's going the way it should. And if you want warnings or errors to pop up on the screen, you control that too. As it gets routed around for approval, your people can then come in from wherever and start doing their approvals. And I really do mean wherever. In the office, they can pull up their AP review right here. I'm going to go ahead and log in as somebody else here who actually has documents. Give me a second. And as somebody in the office, I could say, here are all the invoices I need to approve. And I can look through my entire list here and do all the necessary things I need to make sure this is good. So this is a job invoice. I can change the cost code if I'm the project manager and I have security access to do so. I can view the history of this vendor. If I have a question on whether or not this is a duplicate or something strange about this, I don't have to have access to Sage. I can look at the vendor history right here through the screen. Track issues, whether that needs change order, missing documentation. And speaking of missing documentation, if I get a purchase order and I want to see that related documentation, I just click the Documents button, and this will then pull up and show me the related documents to this particular invoice. And the related documents in this case are going to be not just the AP invoice itself, but also the purchase order, and then any receiving tickets we start capturing for this. Those could all come in right through here. And then from here, I approve, reject, reroute it, put it on hold, whatever I need to do. We all are not stuck just doing it in the office. We can also do it from the field. We have the ePortal. Now, the ePortal is designed to work on any type of device with an internet connection. It's a website. I'm going to show you it first as a normal laptop type look. I've got access here to my invoices, and from my invoices, I will see everything I need to approve. Now, for me, there's these two invoices. I can see one of them is currently on hold, which is what that X is there. And I can say, okay, great. These are the invoices I need to pull up. I'll hit the details button on this. And this will show me everything there is to approve this invoice from my smartphone or from my tablet or laptop at this view. I can see that this is a purchase order, the GL accounts. I can edit it if I need to make changes. View the documentation, of course. This is the one I just showed you a second ago. I've got the purchase order available there for me to look at. I can see any issues we're tracking, any notes that are currently on there, or make notes, and then do my approval or reject. And if I'm on a smartphone, let's go ahead and resize this here. If I'm on a smartphone, I'm going to want to see this in a more smartphone-friendly view. We got you covered there too. Sorry here, I'm just trying to make it the right size for my screen. I've somehow made it incredibly long. There we go. So smartphone view, I can see everything, and it kind of puts it back into a form that you can deal with on a smartphone. And then going back to my invoices and looking at my full list, I even have a card view, which makes it real simple and easy to see from whatever device I'm using. So the ePortal is one of the 3 cloud components that we have today available to you. I'll bring up the other 2 in just a minute. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and sync my phone and my tablet right now. And give me a quick brief minute to pull up my Air server. I already had it running. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and bring up my QR code and connect. So as a starting point, let me connect my phone to this. And I'm going to show you eCapture. Now I'm going to show you the phone and a tablet in 2 different views because the eCapture is designed typically for smartphones, and the eForms is more typically designed for tablets. You could theoretically use them in either, but just for simplicity's sake, most of the time you're going to be taking pictures of credit card receipts and receiving tickets and things like that from your smartphone. So it makes sense to show this view from this. On here, I can pull up credit card receipts, job photos, receiving tickets, or AP invoices. And let's say it is a credit card receipt. I could say capture. And this will then, I'm out at the site. I'm going to grab another sheet of paper here just for simplicity's sake, or maybe take a picture of my mug and say I got this for Wells Fargo. Expense category is Home Depot I was at, so we're going to go ahead and call that supplies. Secondary vendors, of course, Home Depot. And transaction amount, we'll just go ahead and say that we spent $360 over there, and we did that for the Clackamas Office Park job. I can capture other information, or I'll go ahead and just take a little picture here of my, well, in this case, my mug that I purchased. And thank you, Corey, for that. And as I capture this information and submit it, in this case, it should be a credit card receipt. Your boss will love it if they send something weird like I just did. It'll then send that back to the office. Oh, I'm trying to click with my mouse. So let me. And now that is being sent back into Paperless and making it available for me to have access to here in the back office. So credit card receipts, receiving tickets, invoices, job photos, we can do all from that. I'm going to also connect my tablet to this. Let me pull that up and show you guys the other side, which is our eForms. And pulling it up right now. Should be. I might have to turn off this. Oh, I got too many things going on there. There we go. Close that. There we go. Here is my tablet. Now on my tablet, let's make that bigger so you guys can see everything. I've got my eForms. Now eForms is designed to capture whatever type of form you want from the field. Daily, I've got a 3 of them built right now today. Daily field reports, vacation request forms, and field purchase orders. You could build your own. You can build whatever you want. Could be things for HR, like new hire packets, vacation request forms. You can have daily field reports, safety incident reports, visitor forms, whatever you want. Let's take an example, the daily field report. I begin the form, create my daily field report, and this is going to walk me through all the information I want to capture from the field. I'm out there on my site, and again, this pulls in without having to worry about an internet connection because it is an app. I can say it's the Northwest Food Warehouse job for today, and we're going to capture my GPS location of where I'm at. It's going to put that into the system, even capturing altitude. If you want to, be able to pull up the report later and say, find me all of my jobs over 200 feet above ground or less than 500 feet, because we want to see everything that went in that type of area, Maybe there's a particular piece of machinery that operates better under or over certain areas. So you can do those reports later. Capture that. I can do capture temperatures in here, time of day, can come in, with that piece as well. Let's go ahead and just round that up to the nearest half hour. And then do my photos. Just like with the eCapture, I could take photos of things, and those would then do my walkthroughs and push those through at the end. I can also do a field purchase order. This is something where out in the field, I get a PO, I can enter my new PO number, put in my vendor number. Oh, I meant to put that as a connection back to my vendor. I forgot to set that up. Put in my PO amounts. I can set up my lines of distribution, multiple if I need to, and all the information that went in between. So now from my tablets in the field, in the office, I can start filling out forms and having those all go back into Paperless as I do it. And those documents just pull in right into the search criteria the same way as any other document does. If I go pull up that credit card receipt I did a little earlier, here it is. My awesome picture of my mug with all that coding that I did behind the scenes, saved right here in the index value. So if I need to find all my credit card supplies, I can. Speaking of credit card receipts as well, one other thing that's new with the version 6.2 of our software that just came out is these credit card receipts can actually automatically sync back up with the credit card values. Hold up here. Didn't like one of the things I put on there. It was like my index date. That's fine. So what this can do is actually connect back over with the credit card portion of the software to make it automatically sync up. When I do a credit card invoice import, it will bring up in the software, and all my credit cards that match up with the date and the amounts and everything like that will come through. Let's go back to my slideshow here. Oh, let me zip through there. So all of this stuff that we've been talking about, the cloud components, actually, the different parts of AP, searching documents, saving documents, it all really comes together at the end of the day to make your document and content experience with Sage just that much more streamlined. You're going to be able to save time, increase productivity, and increase efficiency by having a centralized location for everything. We take care of all the backups. We take care of all the security, retention periods for your documentation, tracking revisions. If you make revision histories on any of these documents, we've got you covered on all that, and searching and finding documents when you need them as soon as you need them. We, of course, reduce paperwork and administrative overhead by putting everything in a centralized location to get rid of the paperwork itself. But the administrative overhead, because you now can track who are we waiting on for documents to be approved, whether they're AP invoices and we're waiting on a project manager to approve it, we could see that. Or it could be the property manager that we're checking on as well. Maybe we're sending out rental contracts to them. Maybe we're sending out human resources to each person's supervisor when they ask for a PTO request, and we can track that now too. So the administrative overhead is tracked by the fact we don't have to run around desk to desk looking to see whose paperwork is where. We now have centralized locations with reports and everything in between for that. We also can improve relationships with subcontractors and vendors. Just for the fact that now your invoices are being paid faster because we're tracking who has them and all that information between, things can now be paid quicker. You can get invoice, or what am I trying to say, the discount dates taken care of faster, and your subcontractors can be happier knowing that they're not having to wait nearly as long for documentation to come in when you send it over. They are now being taken care of much quicker. And if they do have any concerns, you no longer have to hunt down the people that are reviewing it. You can just easily pull up a list and say, oh, here's who I'm waiting for approval, and that person's done. And those AP invoices are just pushed right back into Sage as they're supposed to. Lastly, eliminate the need for paper files. This is the place where, really comes down to going paperless. Sage Paperless Construction is designed to completely eliminate paper. You can do it from start to finish, saving all your invoices, documentation related to, other capturing documents through eCapture or eForms, all the way to checking on AP invoices for payment as well. Actually, let me pop back up and show you one last piece on that AP side. Once your invoices have been fully approved and sent back into Sage for payment, when you cut those checks out, our check review screen here can easily find your checks that were marked for payment or even your check numbers that were in the system. So a owner or a supervisor or somebody who would be approving signing checks to make them available can actually come in here and say, oh, check number 24452. Let me click on that. I want to sign it, but I want to make sure that everything's good on here, so I can see it's for $3,500. It's for $3,564 is the invoice in Sage that is pulling. It was approved by Vincent, but the amounts aren't matching here, so maybe I'm going to then flag this and say, well, that's a potential issue. Because it's sample data, we could pretend it was a real good one there, but the idea is the same. I'm checking as a final signer of invoices to make sure things are all in order, and our check review will allow you to do just that. And if you need to pull reports, I mentioned this several times, we've got you covered with a ton of Crystal reports to pull from and view and say, hey, maybe I want to see all my unapproved invoicing by reviewer, or I want to pull up all of my job cost summaries on here as well. Now, it's the middle of the month, but let's say it's August 30th or August 31st, and you're going to say, I want to see where do we stand today in job cost, because Sage is going to show everything that's been approved, and Paperless is going to show everything, well, everything. I can pull a Paperless and run one of my Crystal reports here to look at what dollars are currently in Sage and what dollars are currently in Paperless out there for approval, and get a total job cost to date at any given point. Because these are Crystal reports, you can design your own or have one of your consultants design you to bridge the data between. And another new feature with the 6.2 release that came out is we could do AP accruals. You know, at the end of that month, you can run the report to get you the number, or you can run an accrual and say, I want to cut it off at the 31st. I want to go put it to the September 1st. Anything over $500, put an accrual entry into the system for, so my accounting system comes up correct. Got you on the AP invoice accrual side too. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for any questions out there. One last piece here, and I'll turn it to Corey for any final pieces and questions. If you do have questions on this, want to get more information or pricing, please email your great Sage representatives at cresales@sage.com or call them directly at the number below. Corey, I'll pass it to you for any questions that might be out there.
Sure. One of our questions, can this be used for Sage 100? Yes, for Sage 100 Contractor and Sage 300 CRE. We support those integrations. And here's one for you, Vincent. Can you import expenses into payroll for reimbursement instead of AP?
You can import in the expenses in the system, but it does not currently post anything back to accounts payable or to the payroll department. So think of it this way. You could use the eForms piece, or actually even the eCapture if you want to do credit card receipts. And one of the, when I'm doing the eCapture, you saw I picked supplies from a drop-down on the expense category. You can have an expense category created called reimbursement. And what you can do is have people taking their pictures of the credit card receipt through the eCapture app, and once a month or however often you want to check for it, you would pull up a report and say, show me all of my credit card receipts that have reimbursement as the category. It would then show all of those to you, and based on your audit of that information, you can then go in and create an AP invoice to cut them a check, or if you have a method to do it through payroll, you can do that too. So we can capture the information from the field. It's your responsibility to do something with that information. In fact, if you don't want to run a report, you just want to be noted immediately, we can route things around for approval as soon as they're captured. So, the other thing to do would be create a doc route rule that said any credit card receipts with a reimbursement expense category gets routed to their boss for approval, or whomever it is that's in charge of that. Sorry, long answer, but it's a great question.
Perfect, thank you. Here's another one. Is there a way to increase the resolution of stored documents?
We do not do that ourselves. We store everything in the format in which it comes in. So if you have invoices stored at a low resolution, they're going to stay at a low resolution. If you come things with huge expanded resolution, they're going to stay in that mode too. Now you can print them off or save them to file as a smaller resolution, but we can't expand the resolution of something because, again, we're working off of whatever you brought in. We can increase the size of it, but the resolution itself will stay.